I travelled to Argyll to look at the mysterious case of the death of Cecil Hambrough. In 1893, at the Ardlamont estate in the Highlands of Scotland, young Cecil Hambra was on a hunting trip with his tutor when he fell foul of a fatal gunshot wound. At first, it seemed he'd been the victim of a terrible self-inflicted shooting accident. But once it was revealed that life assurance had been taken out on him just days previously, his death would lead to one of the most talked about trials in the country, and a mystery worthy of Sherlock Holmes. Windsor Dudley Cecil Hambra, aged 20, was from an apparently moneyed, but in reality quite poor, Isle of Wight family. His father, having frittered away their wealth, left them living on borrowed money. But to keep up appearances, the services of a tutor, Alfred John Monson, were engaged for Cecil's education as a gentleman. Monson, a Yorkshireman, was like Cecil's father in that he had little grasp of finance and seemed to flit from one scheme to another. For the shooting season of 1893, a lease was taken at the Ardlamont estate in Argyll, and the party was to be joined by a man going by the name of Scott, who Monson claimed was going to advise him about the purchase of a boat. None of the party seemed to know the real purpose of Scott's visit, but nonetheless he was to witness and perhaps even participate in what was believed to be the first attempt on Cecil's life. On the evening of the 9th of August, Monson took Cecil out for a spot of late-night fishing on Ardlamont Bay. But shortly after they had set off, the boat started to take in water. Cecil couldn't swim and only survived by clinging to a rock. With Scott watching from the shoreline, both men managed to get safely out of the water. Despite a close shave the evening before, Cecil appeared happy to join Monson and Scott on an early morning hunt. Sometime before 9 a.m., the group was spotted by James Dunn, a man who was holidaying on the estate. He saw the men come off the road and enter the woods. Cecil turned right on his own, whilst Monson and Scott turned left. 3 minutes later, James heard a gunshot. Shortly after, the butler, James Wright, discovered Monson and Scott back at the house. They were carrying rabbits, but no guns. Monson explained to Wright that it was Cecil who had shot the rabbits, and also, by accident, he'd shot himself. Did he shoot himself in the arm? Inquired Wright. No, replied Monson. In the head. He's quite dead. When the incident was reported, the Inverary Procurator Fiscal's office, which was some 50 miles away, dispatched an officer to Ardlamont. He declared it a tragic accident, and in turn, there was to be no formal post-mortem. Case closed. Until, that is, Monson put in his claim for 2 life insurance policies in Monson's wife's name, with £20,000 that he claimed Cecil had taken out in the days before he died. This encouraged the Procurator Fiscal to look again at the death, and a new investigation was started. Cecil's body was exhumed, there was a post-mortem, and gunshot trials were undertaken to ascertain how the incident had occurred. After thorough searches of the estate and interviews with staff, Monson was charged with murder, and the mystery man Scott, now on the run, was named as his accomplice. The trial began here at Edinburgh High Court on the 12th of December 1893. At the 11th hour, a charge of attempted murder was laid against Monson as a result of the ill-fated fishing trip on the night before Cecil died. Soon, the nation's attention was fixed on what most people thought was an open and shut case. Edinburgh in 1893 was at the forefront of forensic medicine. The world pioneer in the field was Edinburgh University, and one of its alumni, Arthur Conan Doyle, had revealed that the inspiration for his most famous creation, Sherlock Holmes, was Dr. Joseph Bell, a man with whom Alfred J. Monson was soon to become acquainted. The trial was a sensation and brought together many different strands of forensics, including gun experts, medical jurists, and pioneering forensic scientists. The prosecution engaged some of the most prestigious names in medicine at that time, including the aforementioned Joseph Bell. They were all in agreement that Cecil couldn't possibly have shot himself in the back of the head by falling forwards towards the gun, as Monson claimed. Equally, the defense presented medical and ballistics experts to refute the findings of the prosecution. After 10 days of evidence, the case was complete, and the public waited with bated breath for the outcome. Had Monson been found guilty, the likelihood is he would have been hanged just a few weeks after the jury had reached their decision. But under Scottish law, the jury had 3 and not 2 verdicts to choose from. The unique Scottish decision of not proven allowed an uncertain jury to save a man from the gallows without necessarily proclaiming him as innocent. Despite the mountains of evidence before them, the jury brought in a verdict of not proven, freeing Monson and bringing to an end the trial of the century. So, what happened to poor Cecil Hambra is one of Scotland's coldest cold cases and remains a mystery to this day.